So is the stock market going to crash because crude oil went negative? What's going on, team? It's Ricky with TechBud Solutions. I hope that you guys are all having an amazing day. Yesterday, because the market did close in the red and because crude oil did in a sense crash and it went negative for the first time in history, a lot of people thought that this was the very early stages again of an overall market crash. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I just feel like people are on overall edge because of this unfortunate outbreak of the pandemic of coronavirus. One of the things that you guys need to understand is that oil and crude oil make up a big part of our overall market. There are a lot of funds that are part of Dow Jones, right? So with taking that into consideration, it makes sense that when oil itself had a very, very poor and unfortunate day, it makes sense on why the market would in a sense pull back, because there are funds that again are part of our overall market. One of the things that you also need to take into consideration is that the market is made up of so many different funds and so many different companies. Therefore, to make the assumption that because oil was crashing, it doesn't mean that the overall market has to follow as well. Obviously, the demand for overall oil has been down. Due to this overall pandemic, less people are traveling, and overall businesses such as like cruises and airlines are not as busy as they were before, or are not even in business as of right now. So it makes sense when countries for the past 2 months have been in full lockdown, yeah, the demand for oil is down, and with the overall production of oil still continuing, it makes sense on whether there's an oversupply and just not as much demand as of right now. One of the things that I do want to talk about is not only has America but other European leaders talked about reopening the borders and getting America back into business. Taking that into consideration, I have received news that there are a series of states that are reopening as soon as Fridays. So understanding that, yes, it is very unfortunate, and of course some industries are going to take much longer to recover than others. But to make the assumption that the overall market is going to crash because of oil itself, I think is very naive. There's no question that the market is made up of a series of funds when it comes down to oil, but it's not what makes up the entire market. So taking that into consideration, it was a very unfortunate day. But now looking at the market, it's nearly recovered everything that it lost yesterday, and crude oil itself as of today, as we move on to its new oil future, is in the green. So taking that into consideration, and with the news of America slowly opening up and getting back into business, I think that this can only act as a bullish sentiment. Do I have to agree with everything that America is doing? No, of course not. But one of the things that we need to take into consideration is that when it comes down to overall price movement and how the market moves is based off of assumption and overall expectation of how people are bound to react. By making sense that businesses are reopening, this will only act as a bullish sentiment for the overall market. So with that being said, although I don't think that we are anywhere close when it comes down to the overall vaccine of the coronavirus, with America slowly trying to reopen and get back into business, it makes sense on why the market can slowly begin to recover from that very aggressive drop that we saw early this year. One of the things that I also want to remind you is, of course, some industries are going to recover quicker than others. When it comes down to the overall idea of should we expect airlines and cruise lines and hotels to automatically recover? No, I think that would be very close-minded for us to think. But when it comes down to businesses that were affected, but again, by slowly opening back up and getting back into business and gaining confidence, it would only make sense on why these specific businesses and their correlating stocks would slowly begin to recover. Just make sure you take that into consideration when it comes down to investing long-term on any of these industries, as again, some industries are still being negatively impacted due to the overall pandemic and still can get worse before they get any better. One of the last things that I do want to talk about is when it comes down to crude oil and oil itself, because of the war that's going between Saudi Arabia and Russia. One of the things that a lot of people were asking is what sparked this war and why are they battling? So one of the things that we have to understand is that Saudi Arabia and Russia are both one of the top oil producers. Therefore, based off of my understanding and the different articles that I read, it sounds like one country is trying to dominate the overall oil market by running the other countries out of business. You guys can look a little bit more into this, but the reason that I'm sharing this is for all those that are trying to invest in oil long term. Just understand that just because we had one green day today doesn't mean that oil itself is fully going to recover with its correlating specific ETFs and stocks such as USO and DTO. Taking that into consideration, just know that things can continue to get much worse before they get any better, especially if the two top producers in the entire world of oil continue this battle. Really do appreciate you guys' time. I hope that I earned your thumbs up in this video. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Let me know in the comment section what you guys would like to see in tomorrow's video. And don't forget to stay connected. Join our free investing group. That's going to be that first link down below. We have over 260,000 members. And again, that is that first link down below. Like always, team, let's make sure that we end the year on a green note. Take it easy.